Hello, Thunder Wizards. Okay, so this is the Redefining Myself series. I don't know, I think this is number 9 or 10. I'm not really sure which one of those it is, but. And this is the Wizard of Oz. Um, I'm the Thunder Wizard, as you know, and somebody recently said, well, now that you're in Australia, does that make you the Wizard of Oz? So, I guess so. So, this video, I'm going to be talking about where I'm at in my redefining myself process, and this is called settling in. I'm starting to settle in. I've been here for 6 weeks, and this is actually as long as I've ever been away from the United States. And coincidentally, it was about 35 years ago that I came on a trip to Australia and New Zealand, which lasted for 6 weeks. I think we spent a week in Hawaii. So, but I was with a college group and we were doing some performance, so I was actually working really hard. But that was the only time before now that I had spent, this long away from the United States. And so I really starting to feel like I'm settling in. I just came out of a huge slump. So let me explain to you what the point of these videos is again. This redefining myself video serves a bunch of different purposes. One is people have asked me, because you've been hearing me talk for a long time, that I'm going to make this move to Australia, even though, I'm here on a tourist visa, and I'm going to bounce back and forth between here and New Zealand for as long as I can until I can find a way to hopefully move here. And I'm going through my Rahu return, which is where you go back in everybody's chart. You get, the third Rahu return. You really look at your life and you look at the last third of your life and you really redefine yourself. And this is exactly what I'm doing. So I came out of a real nasty slump here not too long ago, and as it turns out, the Thunder Wizard, was unconscious. So bear in mind that the point of these videos is to show you that I'm human, and I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I really dislike, and I'm holding myself back here, I really dislike spiritual teachers that either pretend to be more than human or allow other people to present them as being anything other than human. I think that is a disservice. As the Buddhists say, if you see Buddha on the road, kill him. And they say that because, Buddha is set up as this, the Tathagata, the perfected one. And even though in reality, the man who we now call the Buddha, Gotama, Siddhartha Gautama, was actually, as human as you get. He was a meat eater, and he died very, of old age and illness. He was really ill and sick and in a lot of pain, and he wasn't this shining sort of saintly figure that floated above the ground. He was just somebody who taught the middle path, who said that attachment causes pain. And that's it, is to, not be attached to the world. That's really all that he was trying to say. And so part of that is to reveal that I'm as human as the next person. And also because I want you to train yourself to embrace all of your feelings. It is my experience with Westerners that, especially Western spiritual seekers, is that they are running away from their feelings. That most people, maybe more than half, I would say, who are spiritual seekers are people who have come from traumatic backgrounds. And they seek spirituality in order to heal that. And so the most attractive spiritual teachers are the ones that give you the cotton candy, that pretend to be, they have everything, and nothing bothers them. And you hear this with the love and light crowd, that I don't go there and I don't go to those lower places. I'm all about love, man. And these are the people who will turn on you the fastest, who are the most superficial, and they can't tolerate their own negative feelings. And so I want you to see that I'm just like you. I have them. And this past, was it a week ago? I went through a really painful unconscious sadness. You know, I was still doing my job. That's the other thing too. I still trudge along. I still follow the same teachings I teach you guys, that even when you're in the middle of it, just follow, just do what I'm telling you to do up here, and that you will work through it. But I had forgotten that my fiance's and my fiance's and mine anniversary was July 22nd. And I was so sad that whole week. I was so sad. And I was like, why? It felt like I was pulling backwards and I was getting worse. And I was like, even saying out loud to people, why? What's going on with me? And then I became aware, oh, of course. You know, it's your anniversary. You know, she died a year and 9 months ago. And so, of course. And then when I realized that, it made sense and it helped. And that's why it's so important to be conscious. You know, and just like you, I go through phases where I go into unconsciousness and I'm not conscious of what's going on. So it's not about never making mistakes or never having negative feelings or never being sad or being depressed or angry or resentful. It's not about being free of those feelings. There's nothing spiritual about that. That means you're dead. It means you're in denial and you're lying to people and yourself. The thing is, you take full responsibility. You embrace all of your feelings. You embrace all of your experiences, and you follow the path here. Again, the neo.thunderwizard.com, I keep putting it up there for a reason. I know I sound like a broken record. I know a lot of you are, you know, you're judging me because you think I'm just here to sell you something. But the truth is that fourfold path that I lay out there, those 4 tools, is the basis for being able to have everything in life. And I want to share with you some stuff today. A friend of mine took me on a walk. You know, I've been here 6 weeks, and you know, this first 6 weeks I've kind of been in a haze. I've just been all about surfing, just been all about just relaxing and sort of healing, and you know, letting all this gunk from, you know, just letting stuff out, just, you know, defragging my hard drive from this first 55 years of my life and really redefining who I am. So I really didn't have a lot of energy to do anything other than surf, go to the gym, and do a couple of videos, work with some clients, and then just sleep. That was just all I was doing. So today, for the first time, I went and ventured out into this amazing forest. And so let me show you some of that. So here's some of, this is just one of many, many forest paths out there that go off, and you can backpack and camp and all kinds of stuff. And the forest here is so interesting because, as you can see, the trunks of those eucalyptus trees, really tall eucalyptus trees, which if you grew up in Southern California, you've seen those trees everywhere, those eucalyptus trees. And I grew up in an area that was forested. They forested it in the 1800s. There were ranches there, and they forested it with Australian blue gum eucalyptus trees. And then in the 20s, they just, I mean, the huge area, if you know the Palos Verdes Peninsula, if you're familiar with that, the whole west side of that mountainside of that peninsula, they forested the whole thing with eucalyptus trees. So I spent my whole childhood climbing up, you know, the sides of those trails. And, you know, so for me, eucalyptus trees are just, I'm so comfortable with them because I grew up with it. And it was my forest. It was my, you know, my wilderness and you know, my little suburban utopia there. It's a very pretty place, even though, you know, the people, I wasn't so thrilled. My childhood was no fun at all. That was like one of the only ways that I could, you know, when my older brother was, you know, beating the crap out of me, or my alcoholic dad was doing his thing, or my, codependent mom was doing her thing, I would go and go out the the back door, and I would climb up the side there. We lived on the side of the basically a mountain there, and I would climb up the back and be in forests that looked a lot like that, just nothing but eucalyptus. So there's this really interesting feeling that I have when I'm in these forests of, on the one hand, it's so familiar. The only difference is that the trees here are, of course, much older, so they're a lot taller. But it looks almost identical. In some of the places, it's like if I took a snapshot, I wouldn't know the difference. Is that behind my house that I grew up in, and the forest behind my house, or where am I? And then this is a little further on in that same forest here, and I wanted to show you guys this. So this is approaching a waterfall there, and I don't know if you can hear the birds and all the strange sounds that the birds are making, because I can't hear I can see it, but I can't hear the audio. But I wanted to show you guys this. It's just such an amazing place, and I'm finally now getting out, and and experiencing it and enjoying it in all its splendor. Of course, the thing is, I have to not surf every day, because if I surf every day, I have no energy to do anything else. But even that view, with all those eucalyptus trees in the distance there, that's so familiar to me. But of course, all the other plants and animals are totally different. But now I'm starting to settle in, and I'm finding myself, now that I'm here, I'm finding myself falling into some old patterns. Look at those trees. Look at that forest. It's just so amazing to me. It's just, yeah. It's not like any other forest I've ever experienced. There's my friend.
What kind of animal is that?
But I am getting back into, I'm settling in. Now that I've been here for 6 weeks. It's the longest I've been away from the U.S. The only other time was when I don't know if I said this earlier, where I came here for 4 weeks, and then I spent a week in New Zealand and a week in Hawaii, and that was when I was in, college, and I was off performing, and that was the only other time I've spent this long away from the United States. But now that I'm here and I'm settling in, and I've gone through some shifts and some changes, now old habits are coming back, and I'm starting to stay up later. In fact, it's 10 o'clock now, and when I first got here, I'd already be in bed by now, fast asleep. But I've been staying up later, and I'm getting, more cranky with things like the way people park their cars, and, that kind of stuff. Somebody honks at me, I get angry at that, and I'll think about that for an hour. So listen, seriously, it's not, those movies, you see it in movies lots of times, where you'll see somebody who is some kind of criminal or something like that, and they'll talk about, I can never live down what I've done. And somebody will say, what's important is not what you did, it's what you do. What you do is who you are. And that is really important. And so there's this fine line, if I'm going to get Buddhist about it, the middle way. The fine line that I have found isn't that you deny. As I think about it, Buddha went through this. He went off and he wanted to be a mendicant in the forest, a monk that just lived in the forest and, just had a loincloth and a begging bowl. And he did that, and he found that wasn't it. And of course, he started on the other realm when he was, he was a prince, and he had everything, and he had all of the money and all of the servants, and he realized that wasn't it. And so it wasn't, and the things like, if you string the bow too tight, it'll snap, but if it's too loose, then you can't shoot the arrow. Or if the string on the musical instrument, if it's too tight, it'll snap, but if it's too loose, it won't make a sound. And you got to have it just tight enough. And this is what I'm trying to share with you. On the one hand, you have to have all of your feelings, everybody. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you're a spiritual seeker, there is a good chance that you went through some kind of trauma. And you're seeking healing through spirituality. But some of these saints out there, and I'm not going to name them, but I've got a couple in mind that just drive me crazy. On the one hand, the guy's an outright fraud. Outright fraud. He's dead now. But he's an outright fraud. But he was a wise guy. He was a smart guy. He was wise. But he was not living what he was preaching at all. And he allowed himself to be portrayed as this saint that he wasn't. And that bothers me because, if you see Buddha on the side of the road, you're supposed to kill him. Because otherwise then you look up to this thing and you start to idolize perfection and you don't deal with the reality of your imperfections. And we should embrace all of that. So to run away from your pain, to run away from your sadness, your anger, the fact of the matter is, especially people who have gone through a lot of trauma, is that they have not been taught that you've got to face the pain. And they'll get right up to it and then run away. And people do this with religion all the time. All the time. And so to be spiritual, you must have all of your feelings. You must embrace them. You must acknowledge your darkness and have it. But you must act with consciousness. And the thing is, if you are running from your feelings, you will not be able to act on consciousness. You will act out on an unconscious level of all of the stuff that you're trying not to feel. And if you're like me, I just did it a week ago. I was in unconscious sadness. I had forgotten that it was my anniversary with my partner who passed away. And so I was super, super sad. And that's the thing. I obviously chose to forget about it and become unconscious about it in some unconscious agenda to avoid the pain, but the pain still comes. And if you are unconscious about the things that you're resentful about, that you're sad about, that you're angry about, if you try and run away from those things, you will act out destructively towards other people. It's important you understand that. I shared it with you. There was which happens a lot. A viewer came in, saw a couple of my videos, decided that I was, their teacher for them, and that I was this amazing person. They saw the video where I was sharing some of my frustrations and my sad feelings, and they tried to fix me. The comments were about fixing me, and I got all those emails from people fixing me and sharing me their story and wanting to help, and not realizing the whole point of that was to share with you that I'm human, not that I need you to fix me. And that if you see me and I'm having my human feelings and your first desire is you want to rush and fix me, what's happening is on an unconscious level, you are telling me to shut the hell up because I don't want to feel those things in myself. So if you're a fixer, you run around fixing everybody, guess what's going on? You are trying to shut them up so that you won't have to feel your own pain. I'll give you a good example in my life. I was born premature, at least 6 weeks. It could have been more than that. And this was back in 1963. So what they did with premature babies is they threw them in incubators and put them in glass, like a fish tank. And, the babies aren't getting any human contact. And I was in that for a long time. I don't remember how long, but a long time. I was so premature that the doctors were sure I was going to die. In fact, they were telling my parents, he's not going to live the night. He's going to die. And they were making decisions like, asking my parents, if we turn up the oxygen, he'll go blind, but it might save his life. But if we turn it down, he won't go blind, but he might die. And so my parents had to make the decision: do we want him to go blind, or do we want him to live? And so thankfully they decided to have them turn the oxygen down to normal. Obviously I lived, and I'm doing fine. But now, I was too young. Obviously I don't have any conscious memory of that, but my body remembers it. And every time, this is probably one of the reasons I've never had kids, every time I hear an infant cry, it's just like a knife goes through me. I can't handle it. It's horrifying to me. A horror movie is for me listening to, infants crying. It just, I can't tolerate it. And whenever I see, in pictures or on the news or something, and they'll show a kid in an incubator, my body just kind of ripples with shock, and it's just so horrifying for me to look at. And so that's my projection. Some people, they hear crying babies and they go, "Oh, baby," and they want to pick it up and hold it. I want to run away. I can't handle that sound. So when you see somebody and they're sharing feelings and your instinct is to go and fix them, what you're really wanting to do is you're wanting to tell them to shut up, because you can't stand that they're in pain. And what you really want is you want somebody to come and save you. This is why people seek out the gurus and the saints who don't have any problems. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make fun of, it's just the stereotype of the Indian guru. I'm not trying to make fun of people who are from India. Point is that the true spiritual person is the person who has all of his or her feelings and stays conscious of them and works through them and takes conscious choices, takes conscious action. And I'm telling you, you cannot take conscious action, conscious spiritual action, which will help other people, unless you are conscious of all of your feelings. I'll give you another example. When my fiance was dying and she was in the hospital, and she was in the worst pain I've ever seen anybody in, and it tore me up. You can imagine, it tore me up. But I had been working really hard to stay conscious with all of my feelings, and at the same time take no responsibility. This was her journey. Whatever karmic issues and or whatever choices she had made which got her there, that was her journey. And I wasn't going to be like everybody else and cry and flip out or try and tell her it's okay or tell her you can't die or any of that. I didn't say any of that. In fact, the only thing I did was I focused on the moment with her. And so that when she looked in my eyes, she knew that she could just be in the moment with me. And the only way that I could do that is if I was fully conscious of all of my feelings. And I went in to see her, and it was horrific. It was horrible. But because I was able to have all of my feelings, I was able to be completely present with her and just focus on her. And she said to me as I sat down inside, coming apart at the seams. But of course, taking the conscious action to be there for her and not, talk her out of her experience or make it okay or distract her, just be there with her. She looked at me and she said, "You're so calm. You're so grounded." And that was a real lesson, because what it meant was that if you are conscious, meaning you are not denying any of your feelings and you're taking conscious action, conscious constructive action, the end result is healing for anybody that's around you. This neo.thunderwizard.com. I mean, I know you guys think I'm trying to sell you stuff and you roll your eyes and you go, whatever. Well, I'm just going to get as much free stuff. I'm telling you that 4-step process in neo.thunderwizard.com. If you follow that, I mean, I recommend you get that whole package and watch all those videos over and over and over and do exactly what I teach you how to do. Because those 4 things are the things that give you the ability to do exactly what I've described. And on top of that, you learn how to get the universe to respond directly to you. And here I am now. I don't work for a living. I don't punch a time clock. I get up when I want to get up. I do as little work as I want to do. In fact, I have chosen, as I've worked through creating this business that I have, this channel that I have, and the other stuff, throughout the way, I've always said, how much do I want to work? And I made a decision how much I wanted to work, and that's how much I'm working. And I don't really understand why I have enough money to come down here and live the life that I live, and to walk through this. This was just what I felt like doing today. I decided I was only just gonna go and walk around in the forest today. And then tomorrow morning, most likely, I am gonna get up and I am going to go here. And I'm gonna go surfing. And then I'll take a couple of clients. I'm sharing that with you because that's all a result of those 4 things that I do up there. You got to know what your destination is. You got to know what it is that you want. If you are not consciously having all of your feelings, both positive and negative, you will not be able to see what your true soul desire is. You've got to use the energy, the life force energy of the universe, the life force energy that I felt so strongly in this forest. I mean, the energy, the healing energy of that place is just radiated with conscious life force energy. Knowing how to tap into that and use that to propel you forward to your soul desire. To understand that conscious life force energy that surrounds you follows certain rules. One of the rules is, if you deny your feelings and you stuff them down, whether you like it or not, no matter how many times you say it's all love and light, everything is good, you will be a victim. You will, on the one hand, out of one side of your mouth, you'll be talking about everything is love and light, and out of the other side, you'll be talking about how they're doing it to you. The elites, the rich people are doing it to you. The aliens, the government. You'll go back and forth between everything is beautiful and I'm only about love. But those people, and it doesn't matter whether you're right or not. The point is that you can't be in denial and not be a victim. If you're not in denial, I've seen this over and over again. It wasn't just that one time with my fiance, but I can remember time, earlier on when I was really doing all the work to work on myself. And I was sharing with people all of the garbage that I was feeling and where I was at. And people would then say to me, things like, I really like being around you. You're really grounding. You're really healing. And inside, I was coming apart at the seams. But it taught me, it's consciousness combined with conscious action is what creates healing. It's not how you're feeling at the moment. This is the mistake that people make. Obviously, drug addicts do this. You drink or you do drugs to feel good. But if you go to a party and you're not the one that's high and you're around the high people, man, especially drunk people are so abrasive, and they just get in your aura, and they get in your face to talk to you. They pick fights with you. They laugh. They're no fun to be around. Now they're having a great time because they're focused on how they're feeling and trying to manipulate their feelings. People do this with drugs. In the spiritual realm, people who want to be, neo-shamans go around taking entheogens, hallucinogens, thinking that they're having a spiritual experience because they think how they feel is what spirituality is. And I have nothing against feeling good. That's why I do the Qigong, doing the Hul breath, doing all of the Qigong that I teach. The reason why I do that is because it feels good. So I got nothing against feeling good. But the point is that the only thing that you can count on is the actions that you take in conscious awareness. And in order to do that, you must have all of your feelings all the time. And if you want to learn how to do that, I recommend neo.thunderwizard.com. Okay, so that's it for me. Redefining myself number 9, I guess. Of course, subscribe, hit the bell button. Courses.thunderwizard.com. See all of the things I offer. By the way, before I forget, I am offering a 50% off of all of the astrology readings with me personally. That's a $200 savings. So if you've been waiting around to save up to have an astrology reading with me, you can have one for 50% off, and go to astrology.thunderwizard.com to see what the readings all entail. Okay? All right, so that's it for me today, my friends. So I will see you soon. Talk to you later.